one particular story which was called One Ride with Yankee Papa 13, which involved 17 helicopters, 4 of which were shot down, and quite a lot of people were killed and wounded. And we tried to rescue a pilot off a ship. We landed alongside, a co-pilot from this down ship wounded. The co-pilot that had climbed onto our ship had 2 bullet holes, one in the arm, one in the leg, and one we hadn't noticed, which was the third one, which was just under the armpit, and he died. And it was a very sad moment, a very touching moment, when our crew chief broke down and cried. And everybody was very tense because everybody had suffered through it. And so often I wonder whether it is my right to capitalize, as I feel so often, on the grief of others. But then I justify my own particular thoughts by feeling that if I can contribute a little to the understanding of what others are going through, then there's a reason for doing it.
His images are absolutely unforgettable. I can recall one in particular, a white Marine slumped to the ground in the mud, in the mire, and there's a wounded black soldier reaching forward to grasp him. And in that instant, it's almost as if Larry had captured something in biblical terms. I could see David reaching out for Jonathan in the Old Testament on those battlefields of Israel. I could see all battlefields. That's what Larry captured. That's what the best of photography catches.
A question I'm asked a lot is, how could you go and cover a war? The week before I left for Vietnam, Larry Burroughs was killed in a helicopter crash, shot down over Laos, along with Andre Hewitt and Kent Potter of UPI and Newsweek photographer Shimamoto. And that was the question going through my mind.
You had to know when, when to shoot and when not to. Because it was more important to come back the next day. Because they were still going to be killing each other the next day. That's the one thing about a war. You know, if you miss the shot on Monday, they'll be out there killing each other again on Tuesday.
You can't let yourself think.
With the camera, there's this invisible steel shield. It's about 6 foot thick and about 6 foot wide. And when the bullets come, they're going to get that GI over there. They're going to get that GI over there, but they're not going to get me because I have that little 35mm camera. It's all up here because what you do is you concentrate on exactly on what you're doing and you do it.
I just saw this man who seemed to be sitting like some piece of granite. So I just said, can I make a picture? And he didn't seem to make any kind of, he didn't seem to do anything. And I thought, crumbs, this man's completely mad. So I just stood there. I took about 6 frames of that man, and every frame is identical. And when I come to print that picture, I'm never sure which frame I'm printing. But the man never moved at all. These images, they wear you down. In a way, you want to walk away from them and forget them.
I suppose what you're looking for is trying to catch the pathos of the moment, although maybe the art of interpreting pathos is to make pathos acceptable. The picture of the ambush, a helicopter coming in through red smoke and bodies in the road, and it's kind of ironic. There's a sign on the side of the road, and the sign on the side of the road says, "All Americans read this sign will die." And Charlie has very cunningly put a 105mm booby-trap shell behind it, and it was carnage. 19 dead and 35 wounded in 5 seconds. Dust and noise and madness and death and the smell of death and that horrible pong of rotting corpses and whatever went before, and the whole story up until that particular image. And you try to encapsulate that in something that becomes taste. It's about a taste. It leaves you trying to get rid of it.
I can think, for instance, of one occasion where I had heard that Americans were offering a kind of bounty or reward for unexploded ammunition that was found on the battlefield. And peasant children would comb the battlefields looking for unexploded devices like grenades and so forth, risking their lives for a few cents. And one day I saw some of these kids bringing their munitions in, and each of these children had been lepers. And I said to myself, my God, what have we become as a nation when we risk the lives of leper children to go into the fields to pick up live grenades and bring them back to us for a few cents? What does this say about our own humanity? But no one would believe it. They didn't see it.
This picture was taken shortly after a battle in which these GIs had in fact captured this Viet Cong who'd been fighting for 3 days with his intestines wrapped up in an enamel bowl which he'd then wrapped around his waist. And as often happens with stomach wounds, you get a lot of thirst, and he'd ask for water, and the Vietnamese interpreters said, look, the guy's Viet Cong, you know, he can drink dirty water from the paddy field. We don't have to give him clean water. And this GI on the left was angry and said, look, anybody who can fight with his stomach hanging out for 3 days, he can drink from my canteen. I'd be proud of it. When Coppola made Apocalypse Now, the movie, he reenacted this whole scene, including my caption word for word, and with no acknowledgement, of course. And when Magnum tracked him down, he answered with that traditional phrase known to Hollywood directors when they're cornered, "Sue me."